You know, usually when you step into like a temple or a holy sanctuary, there's this expectation of safety.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if you think about the sanctuary mechanic in a classic video game, you cross that threshold and the monsters hit an invisible wall.
Right. They just stop chasing you.
Yeah, and that chaotic, heart-pounding battle music fades into something calming.
It's a universally understood concept, right?
Hmm.
A designated safe zone where you can drop your guard, catch your breath, and, regroup without constantly checking your blind spots.
But then you step into the Shrine of Cerberus in this campaign, and suddenly that comforting video game logic is totally inverted.
Completely thrown out the window.
Yeah, that supposed safe zone becomes the absolute most dangerous place on the entire map. So today we are taking a deep dive exclusively into the final heart-stopping seconds of Session 7 of this incredibly intricate D&D campaign.
And it really is a masterclass in tension.
It really is. We've got character sheets, we've got deeply detailed quest notes, but our mission today has a hard limit.
Right. We have to establish the boundary.
Exactly. Reaching backward to understand the context is fine, but we are drawing a firm line in the sand. We will not look one single second past the agonizing cliffhanger of Session 7.
Which is honestly the best way to analyze it because it lets us focus on how they escalate that tension both mathematically and narratively.
Right.
But to understand the sheer weight of those final seconds, we really have to look at the psychological state of our party as they converge on this location. They're all heading toward the Shrine of Savras, which is also ominously known as the Shrine of Truth.
And man, what a party it is. If you're new to the specific mechanics these players are running, let's just break down who is actually walking into this powder keg.
Oh, it's a volatile group.
Seriously. So you have Boris, a cleric, who is heavily bogged down in complex mechanics and actively grappling with a crisis of faith.
Always a great start for a holy man.
Right. And then you have Whiffer, an Aasimar Echo Knight. Now, an Aasimar means he has celestial, like angelic blood running through his veins.
And as an Echo Knight, he fights alongside literal temporal clones of himself.
Yeah, all while dragging his family's dark corporate legacy behind him.
It's so much baggage. And then you have the group's chaotic wildcard, Red-Ear, or, well, Salk, depending entirely on which personality happens to have the steering wheel that day. He operates as this multi-personality monk inhabited by a ghostwriter-esque spirit of vengeance.
Which is just wild.
It is. And rounding them out is Vitrovia, a tiefling moon druid. She has this inherent demonic ancestry as a tiefling, combined with deeply primal shape-shifting nature magic.
And crucially, she carries a literal pocket dimension of pure moon energy with her.
Right. It's a wildly unstable mix of characters. And as we look at the roads they take to reach the shrine, that volatility is just fully on display.
Because they're traveling separately to get there, right?
Yeah. Whiffer's out in the wilderness, and he finally figures out the mechanism to ignite his bright blade Iron X.
This ancient energy blade he's been carrying around forever.
Exactly. But it's not as simple as, like, flipping a switch. To ignite this sword, the mechanics dictate that Whiffer has to physically transform and channel his own limited celestial radiant Aasimar energy directly out of his body and into the weapon.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Using Whiffer's sword isn't just a simple energy drain. It's like plugging a massive industrial wood chipper directly into your own soul's life support machine.
That is a deeply terrifying analogy. But yeah, it's accurate. He isn't just turning on a magical item. He is quite literally using his own divine life essence as a battery. It's an incredibly taxing process.
And frankly, I have to push back on Whiffer's strategy here.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
I mean, is it really a smart tactical move for him to drain his very limited daily celestial transformation just to test out a weapon right before they walk into completely unknown enemy territory at the shrine?
Look, from a purely mechanical action economy standpoint, it is a massive unforced error. In D&D, resource management is the difference between life and death. You do not burn your most powerful defensive and offensive transformation before you've even peeked inside the boss room.
It's just bad math.
It is. But if we look past the dice rolls, the thematic weight of what's happening here is profound. Because meanwhile, on a completely different path toward the shrine, Boris is traveling with an NPC named Bajak Lao.
Oh, right, the pirate.
Yeah. Bajak is a pirate who made a pact with Calypso, gaining immense martial power to supposedly ease the agonizing pain of losing his family. But the mechanism of that pact is devastating.
It really is.
Every single time Bajak calls upon Calypso's power in combat, the magic consumes pieces of his own memory.
It sets this incredibly bleak tone of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Both Whiffer and Bajak are sacrificing fundamental pieces of themselves just to wield martial strength. Whiffer is burning his literal divinity, and Bajak is burning his own mind.
Right, he's erasing the very memories of the family he sought power to cope with.
Power in this world is never free, you know? It always costs you a piece of your humanity.
Which perfectly primes us for what happens when they finally reunite and arrive at the Shrine of Truth. Because they are seeking clarity and safety, but the sanctuary itself demands a sacrifice.
Well, it demands a sacrifice because the entire Shrine of Truth is built on a massive, horrifying lie.
It's such a great twist.
The party regroups and arrives to find that this holy site has been entirely occupied by the minions of Talos. And Talos is the god of destruction.
Right.
His forces, like 20 heavily armed orcs and ogres, are just camped out in the courtyard, essentially holding the temple under martial law.
And inside, there's a fake high priest named Father Orgo running a whole puppet show.
Yeah, and he's holding Sister Langolin hostage. Now, she is a true nun of Savras, the god of truth, and her role in this universe is wild.
She doesn't just read holy texts, right?
No, she literally keeps all the divine truth stored within her physical human body. She is a biological hard drive for cosmic secrets.
If we look at the strategy here, it shows us something terrifying about Talos. He's typically viewed as a brute force god of storms and natural disasters. He breaks buildings.
Right, a very literal destroyer.
Exactly. But by occupying the Shrine of Truth, he has physically and spiritually hijacked the domain of fate and divination. He isn't just destroying architecture. He is actively dismantling another god's influence from the inside out.
Oh, wow.
By putting a puppet priest in charge and holding the biological vessel of truth hostage, Talos controls the flow of reality itself.
And if Talos is manipulating the very concept of truth, it completely recontextualizes the clues the party finds hidden inside the temple.
Those clues are so weird.
They really are. They find this bizarre item, Tristan Monty's sorting hat, which has a scroll tucked inside that reads, "In case of needing a return, tag your it."
Very cryptic.
And then Reader manages to decode a secret encrypted message hidden in a document that spells out TSOHG alive at Falcons.
And for context, Tsu is the innocent, deeply suppressed inner child personality trapped inside Reader's mind, completely overshadowed by the adult monk and the spirit of vengeance.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to ask, is that message literal?
What do you mean?
Does TOHG alive at Falcons mean that Reader's suppressed inner child physically exists outside his body somewhere at a physical location called Falcons? Or, given what you just said about Talos controlling the truth, is this a highly tailored, dangerous psychological trap designed to lure in and completely break an already fractured mind?
It raises a vital question about the actual mechanics of souls in this campaign.
Yeah.
We already know that souls can be split. I mean, Whiffer's soul is actively split between him and his sister.
True, yeah.
So mechanistically, it is entirely possible that the severe trauma Reader endured literally splintered his soul, leaving his innocence physically stranded.
Wow.
But narratively, you are standing inside a corrupted sanctuary. A half-truth, perfectly tailored to a traumatized hero's deepest desire, is the absolute most effective trap a god of destruction could lay.
Which brings us to the moment the actual legitimate god of truth makes a desperate appearance.
And this is huge.
Boris, utilizing his clerical connection to the divine, manages to bypass the corruption. He makes the withered god Savras appear to the captive nun for the first time in years.
And they retreat into this tiny, cramped backroom confessional.
Yeah, and the lore drop Savras delivers is staggering.
It completely shatters the scope of the campaign. Savras doesn't offer comfort, he delivers a cosmic warning.
He tells Boris that the weave, which is the magical fabric that separates the mortal realms from the divine, is actively thinning.
Ancient cosmic laws are being violated. Gods and devils are physically interfering in mortal affairs, and heaven and hell are on the absolute brink of clashing in an apocalyptic, reality-ending war.
And the most terrifying part, Savras looks at this broken adventuring party and calls them the powder keg that could spark this entire cosmic explosion.
The gods are looking at this chaotic group of mortals and seeing the ultimate catalyst. And Savras does something unprecedented to prepare them. He offers Boris the fate domain.
Now, the session notes highlight something totally bizarre here mechanically.
Oh, the domain hoarding.
Yeah. By accepting this, the source explicitly states that Whiffer suddenly has control over 4 separate domains: light, storm, luck, and fate. While Boris is mechanistically stuck at level 4 until he decides his specific path.
It breaks all the traditional rules of divine magic. In a standard game, a character might champion one, maybe two domains.
Exactly.
Holding four distinct aspects of cosmic power implies a complete, terrifying destabilization of how magic interacts with a mortal vessel.
It's insane. Hoarding domains isn't just running too many heavy software programs. It's like trying to tune an old, fragile analog radio to 4 different massive broadcasting stations at the exact same time.
That's a great way to put it.
The mortal antenna simply wasn't built for that much conflicting bandwidth. Eventually, the hardware is going to melt down, and it makes me seriously question the gods' motives here.
How so?
Well, are deities like Savras and Timora actually trying to help the party survive, or are they just indiscriminately loading them up with as much divine artillery as possible to fight a proxy war against hell on their behalf?
Look at Savras's vulnerability in that confessional. A god appearing to a mortal and openly admitting that his powers have atrophied is a massive blaring red flag for the cosmos.
Oh, totally.
Gods derive their power from worship, from their domains being active. An empty shrine means a starving god.
Yeah.
So it totally recontextualizes the party's role.
Well, they aren't just noble heroes on a quest.
Exactly. They are highly dangerous anomalies. They are straining the fabric of reality by acting as storage drives for desperate, dying deities.
And those desperate deities immediately hand out a massive to-do list.
Of course they do.
Savras tells Boris he has to hunt down Moesco, a blood anchorite at the Tower of Storms. And for those unfamiliar, a blood anchorite is essentially a fanatical cultist infused with raw, destructive storm magic.
Very dangerous.
Very. And he points Vitrovia to the woodland manse to find the Golthius tree. But he gives Vitrovia a highly specific, dire warning.
This is such an important detail.
He tells her the party is absolutely not a high enough level to face what's coming, and she must be incredibly careful abusing her moon energy pocket dimension because the magic holding it together is dangerously unstable.
You have a literal face-to-face warning from the god of fate and divination.
Yeah.
Do not abuse the extra-dimensional space.
Right.
A pocket dimension is essentially a tear in reality stuffed into a bag. If it ruptures, you don't just fall on the ground, you get violently scattered across the astral plane.
So keep that specific divine warning in mind, because what happens next is a masterclass in panic-induced amnesia.
Oh, man.
Reality comes crashing back in with the ultimate sucker punch. Literally.
Quite literally.
Armed with all these universe-altering truths, their minds expanded by cosmic awareness, the party steps out of the tiny confessional and suddenly remembers, oh, right. We are currently trapped inside a wooden building completely surrounded by a bloodthirsty army of orcs and ogres.
They need a quick escape plan, and they need it 30 seconds ago.
The tactical situation is completely dire. Radier's body is currently being piloted by the Saw personality, and Sog is the innocent inner child. He is absolutely not a tactician.
No, not at all.
He knows, logically, that he needs to relinquish control of the body back to the adult, combat-ready Radier personality if they're going to survive this siege.
The problem is psychological paralysis. Because of the severe fragmentation of his mind, Saw cannot give up control voluntarily. His nervous system is locked in a trauma response.
So how do they solve this deeply complex psychological blockade?
It's so wild.
Whiffer steps up and violently sucker punches his own teammate, Sock, square in the face.
It is a brutal, desperate workaround. They have learned that blunt force trauma can serve as a physical shock to the nervous system by passing the psychological block and forcing the vengeful adult personality to immediately snap to the surface as a defense mechanism.
And amazingly, it works. The physical assault triggers the shift, Raider takes the wheel, and his immediate snap tactical decision is to light the entire holy shrine on fire.
Naturally. Just set the sanctuary ablaze.
It is pure, unadulterated chaos. They are actively burning down the building they are standing in.
And it gets so much worse.
Oh, it really does. Remember that dire warning from Savras about the pocket dimension?
Yep.
Well, the new improvised master plan is for everyone to climb inside Vitrovia's highly unstable moon energy pocket dimension. Then, Whiffer is going to trigger his celestial wings, grab the bag with the entire party inside it, and fly them out of the burning building to safety.
I cannot emphasize enough how terrifyingly reckless this is. The god of fate literally just told Vitrovia to her face that the pocket dimension is unstable.
Not even 10 minutes ago.
Less than 10 minutes later, they decide to use it as a volatile escape pod to fly through the roof of a burning building while an army shoots at them.
Madness.
In D&D mechanics, putting living creatures inside a portable hole or bag of holding runs the immediate risk of suffocation. To say nothing of the magical instability causing a planar rift if the bag takes fire damage.
So what does this all mean for their group trust? Just think about the dynamic here. You have a situation where you have to physically assault your own team member just to trigger a combat-ready personality shift.
Right.
And then your grand escape plan relies on completely ignoring the direct, explicit advice of a deity you just spoke to. It's hilarious in its absurdity, but it is an incredibly desperate combat tactic. It highlights just how unhinged their survival instincts have become. They are entirely flying by the seat of their pants.
They are reacting purely on adrenaline, abandoning strategy for immediate action. And the brutal truth of tabletop role-playing games is that when you string together a series of chaotic, wildly high-risk decisions, the dice will eventually demand their toll.
Which brings us to the absolute climax of Session 7, the 42-second cliffhanger.
Here we go.
The execution of this master plan goes horribly, horribly wrong. Whiffer triggers his wings and takes to the smoke-filled sky, firmly clutching the bag that contains his entire party. But he is immediately spotted and targeted by the orc army swarming the courtyard below.
He's ascending deck.
Yeah, he is critically hit by 2 magic missiles. Now, if you know the mechanics, magic missiles are homing darts of pure magical force. They do not miss, they bypass armor entirely, and they hit automatically.
Brutal.
He takes those blasts, followed immediately by a physical arrow from an orc archer. He loses his momentum, his flight path stutters, and he crashes hard onto the sloping roof of the burning shrine.
And this is where the cold mechanical terror of the game truly sets in. Let's break down the exact math of this cliffhanger, because the numbers are what make this so horrifying.
Let's hear it.
Whiffer is isolated on a roof that is actively on fire. He is holding a fragile magical bag that contains his entire party. Then if he drops it, or if it burns, or if he falls, they all die.
No pressure.
He is completely surrounded by an army of monsters that have ranged weapons locked on his position. And the most terrifying variable of all.
The wings.
Exactly. Because he burned his transformation earlier just to test his sword. He now has exactly 7 turns left of his celestial energy before his wings give out completely and he plummets.
And in standard mechanics, 1 round of combat equates to roughly 6 seconds of in-world time. 7 turns equates to exactly 42 seconds.
7 rounds feels like a long time when you are in a balanced fight on a flat, open grid.
Sure.
But when you are trying to survive a collapsing, burning roof, holding a volatile, magical bag that is suffocating your friends, while an entire army fires homing missiles up at you, 42 seconds is a mathematical death sentence.
Wow.
There is no time to cast a healing spell. There is no time to strategize or have a conversation. It is a pure, agonizing countdown to total failure.
I want you to put yourself in Whiffer's shoes for a second. Imagine looking down at a ticking stopwatch in your hand with exactly 42 seconds left, knowing that when that digital display hits 0, gravity, fire, and a horde of orcs take over.
It's a nightmare.
How do you possibly survive without numerical progression past this exact second? You can't fly fast enough to escape their range, you are too wounded to outfight an army, and your entire party is trapped inside a fragile magical terror in reality in your left hand. It is the ultimate, inescapable narrative trap.
It is the moment where mechanics and story violently collide. It forces the players into a corner where they cannot rely on their character sheets anymore.
Right, the numbers can't save them.
There is no spell slot or sword swing that solves a problem of this magnitude in 42 seconds. They need a literal miracle, or, given the themes we established at the very beginning of this deep dive, they need a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And in a campaign where power always costs a piece of your humanity, a massive sacrifice seems entirely inevitable.
It is just incredibly tense. To briefly recap the sheer, overwhelming density of Session 7, we started on the road with Whiffer testing out an ancient energy sword fueled by burning his own divine soul. We moved into a corrupted sanctuary to have secret backroom conversations with a withered, starving god of fate. We saw a party member get punched in the face to forcefully swap their psychology.
Don't forget setting the building on fire.
Right. And we ended with a catastrophic, fiery crash landing on a roof with a 42-second timer to total destruction.
It is a narrative roller coaster that perfectly balances deep cosmic lore revelations with immediate punishing life or death tactical consequences.
And before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a brand new idea to chew on. based entirely on the sources we've looked at today.
Okay, what do you have?
Well, Severus specifically mentioned that the veil between realms is thinning and that the gods themselves are physically atrophying, losing their grip on reality.
Right, the starving gods.
At the exact same time, we have this bizarre mechanical quirk where the party, specifically Whiffer and Boris, is suddenly hoarding divine domains, acting as cosmic batteries holding on to way more power than a mortal vessel should be able to contain.
It's a fascinating anomaly that begs for an explanation.
So you have to ask yourself, if you were a dying god, what would your contingency plan be?
Oh, wow.
What if the party isn't just the powder keg meant to start the war? What if the universe, in its own chaotic, brutal way, is forcibly grooming these fragile mortals to literally replace the dying gods?
Oh, that's heavy.
If the old anchors of the weave are atrophying and fading away, maybe the cosmos is forcing this specific party to become the new anchors, whether they mentally and physically survive the grueling process or not.
That completely reframes their entire struggle. They aren't just fighting for daily survival against orcs and pirates. They might be fighting to endure their own violent apotheosis into godhood.
Exactly. And that is where we have to stop. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a wild ride.
We are going to leave you suspended right there on that burning roof, clutching a pocket dimension, watching the stopwatch tick down from 42 seconds right at the end of session 7. Because sometimes when you step into a temple looking for a safe zone, the only thing you find is a ticking clock.